Well, thank y'all very much. Chris, thank you. Thank Beck and EPBA for putting this on. I don't know why y'all laughed when you said governor. That's for her feeling right. You know, and as we talk about the hard work that in fact did go on, I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out to two of the most hardworking guys. Craig Blair he took the tough ones. He took some of the particularly tough issues on and did it gladly, begged for them in fact, and said bring them my way. And Charlie Trump, along with his counterpart in the House side, John Schott, worked tirelessly. Judiciary would start. Well, I'll tell you what, many times up until midnight, those guys were working, and then I was at an event with John Schott not long ago, and he reminded me they actually worked till 3 o'clock in the morning one time. So, and then to the speaker, Tim Armstead, he mentioned we had a phenomenal relationship, and we truly did. Our questions were, how can we best move forward our beloved state, West Virginia, and not making deals back and forth about, you know, you run this, I'll run this. So it was a very productive session. Tim covered a lot of the legislation. There were 262 bills, 14 of them, in fact, vetoed for those for technical purposes, and the other 10, I guess we'll get an opportunity to see them again in the next session. But in fact, 262 bills that I would count as virtually everyone's substantive, important, and truly dealing with issues that were important to West Virginia. We had an opportunity coming in when we took control of the legislature. We had the opportunity to run it exactly the way it had been run for many years prior, and that is one party, one idea, one way, my way, the highway, call it what you want. And we made a particular point, a very direct decision that we didn't believe that that's why the voters in 2014 gave us the opportunity to take leadership. We believed that it was time for a new way. It was a time for bipartisan support, bipartisan conversation when it comes to talking about the things that ail us or the things that need fixed. And so Tim and I both set about bringing everybody to the table on our legislation, not only both sides of the aisle, but all sides of the issue, and truly listen, because you know what? No one party, no one person has all the best ideas, but if you put enough people together, enough smart people together, you're going to come up with a great idea. And I think that's what we work very, very hard to do. Tim mentioned the book that Beck put together, and I strongly encourage you to take a look at it. It goes through 15 or 20 of the bills, describes them a little bit, and then goes on to say what the vote was in the House and the Senate. I could not think of a single bill, not one, that passed on party lines. Now we had a little bipartisan support to moderate to a lot of bipartisan support, but on the only thing that was a party line vote, to my knowledge, to my recollection, was simply some nonsensical, grandstanding floor amendments, you know, and you know, that's theater, that's politics, but everything else was truly bipartisan nature. I don't believe that compromise is about compromising your values. I think compromise is more about the best ideas coming together. I think Washington has taught us that compromise is a dirty word, that it's synonymous with lose, but personally I believe it's part of what built our state, built our country, into being the most powerful, most successful country this world's ever seen. And I think it was about compromise. I think it was about different people from different walks of life coming together and finding a good solution. You know, when you come to the Eastern Panhandle, you're quickly reminded that West Virginia is a diverse state. It has lots of regions, lots of people working in different types of jobs. In the southern part of the state, the coal business is suffering from the regulatory overreach of the current administration in Washington, who seems dead set on destroying that industry. In the north, the gas industry is booming while there's growth in technology in north central West Virginia. And right here, we've landed Macy's. We're ready to welcome a new Procter & Gamble manufacturing plant. And as I drive around this area, I see the growth and the wonderful things that are happening right here in Eastern Panhandle. There are a lot of other differences. In fact, some people, Charlie, you'd agree that some people have funny accents when they talk. And most of the time, we can actually make out what Senator Blair is saying. Love you, Craig. Our differences aren't new. John Cornwell was the second governor elected from the Eastern Panhandle, coming from Hampshire County in 1917. He was concerned about the regionalism that existed in West Virginia at that time, mostly based upon the industry that dominated each area. In his inaugural address, Governor Cornwell said that each section is more or less suspicious of the others, each more or less selfish, with the inevitable result being conflicts in the state legislature. He blamed the conflict on a lack of knowledge and a lack of communication between the regions. He called upon the people of West Virginia to develop a more pronounced spirit of state unity based upon shared values. He noted that such a spirit was extremely important if we're going to make this state an attractive place for investments and the best place in the country to live. Today, as West Virginians, we share the same values: faith, family, and freedom. And that if you work hard and do your best, you can still succeed. And that these values do bind us together, from Weird to Welch and from Huntington to Harpers Ferry. We all want the same thing: economic stability that creates good jobs that will allow us to support our families and ensure a safe and prosperous future. When it comes to creating jobs in West Virginia, lots of things are the same. Our tax system, our schools, our regulations, our government in general. Yet places like the Eastern Panhandle are often running while other places are just idling or frankly at a standstill. Here, there are increased infrastructure needs. You need the ability to attract and retain good teachers. You need to be able to respond to the growth that has characterized this area for the last 30 years. In addressing these problems, I have two speeches that I can give today. The first one you've probably heard before. Hi, I'm from Charleston and I'm here to help. I'm so happy that things are going so well in the Eastern Panhandle, and I look forward to you continuing to send your tax dollars to us so that we can spend them as we please. Thank you very much. Like I said, you've probably heard that speech before, so today I'd like to offer something else. During the legislature last year, we were able to work together with both Republicans and Democrats to get rid of laws and policies that were killing energy jobs, to create a more fair and predictable legal environment, to fix a prevailing wage law that makes better use of taxpayers' money, but you might need to stay tuned on that one, Craig. I have a little more work to do, buddy. So anyway, we'll see where we go there. And certainly to pass laws that will strengthen the fight against the drug epidemic that plagues our state. However, there's a lot more to do, and like I said, each region of our state has its own unique problems or similar problems in different degrees. One of the major obstacles we face in Charleston is that we're trying to navigate an old and outdated government that is highly centralized and preoccupied with rules and regulations and bureaucracy. This type of government was designed for the 1930s and simply doesn't work in a state where so many cities and counties are on the border and have to face different types of competition from across state lines. In West Virginia, the relationship we have between state government and our local government is in fact rooted in the Civil War, when our state was divided between Union loyalists and Southern sympathizers. Those who supported the Union were the founders of our state, wanted to maintain control over the other areas of the state where the South had a great deal of support. So they wanted a strong centralized government. Well, Senator Blair's from the Eastern Panhandle and Bill Cole's from the very southern tip of the state. And we're here to report today that the Civil War is over. Frankly, it is time that we move forward. You know, I'm a business guy, and when you're in the private sector, you have to compete to keep your head above water. You have to be able to respond quickly to economic and cultural changes. Since the 1980s, businesses have changed. They've decentralized authority, flattened organizational structures, focused on quality, and to getting closer to their customers. Government has not. In West Virginia, Charleston still tries to control everything through regulation and certainly by controlling the money. In fact, it's so obsessed with dictating how things should be done that it ignores the most important thing, that being the results. I'm not going to say that all state government is bad. In a stable environment where the task is relatively simple, the problem universal, every customer wants the same service, and the quality performance is not critical, a traditional public bureaucracy can still get the job done. But today, when taxpayers demand public services that respond to their particular needs, it is time that government starts living in the future. It's time for West Virginia to begin moving towards a 21st century government that values results over process, competition over monopoly, and yes, local control over centralized control and command. 5,000 years of recorded history supports Thomas Jefferson's famous observation that the government closest to the people serves the people the best. And the reasons are obvious. First, one of the greatest advantages of a decentralized system is its ability to address local issues. State government's obligated to respond to groups from all over West Virginia. It's inevitable that some problems are going to be compromised or not addressed at all. On the other hand, local governments can address local problems, but only if they have the authority and the resources to do so. Second, local governments represent smaller populations and need to respond to fewer issues. As a result, they can remain smaller and more affordable and can expedite the bureaucratic process. Local government can pass laws more quickly and precisely than a state government tries to pass a law that is all things to all people. Again, local governments can do this if they have the authority and the resources to do so. Third, local governments provide their folks a better opportunity to express their concerns, have their needs addressed, and hold their government officials accountable. You're more likely to see your local mayor or city council person in a grocery store or at the Little League game or at church more than your congressman, your governor, or your state legislator. As a result, your local folks are going to be more responsive. Now, I didn't come here today to tell you all the great things that Charleston is doing for you. I came here to say that the time has come for state government to give local government the opportunity to build its own future. When it comes to government touching the everyday lives of people, whether it's police or fire protection or having a playground for your kids or having your garbage picked up, it's our towns and our cities who are on the front lines making life a little more enjoyable. And I know that many times state government can get in the way. I believe that the State Home Rule Board is working hard and it's full of good people. But I also believe that the premise is wrong, that somehow, some way, a person from Bluefield sitting on a panel that meets in Fairmont can decide what's best for the people in Charlestown and vice versa. Instead, I'm here today to offer to work with you to create a relationship between state and local government that will address our mutual problems, allow Eastern Panhandle people to address Eastern Panhandle problems, to create jobs, and to build a better life for the people of West Virginia. Now, you might have heard that I'm running for governor. I promise I'm not going to jump up on the stump, but I'm not going to miss an opportunity like this to maybe jump on the stump just a tiny bit. You can't legislate good or efficient government. We can't pass a law. We could pass a law, but it wouldn't go anywhere. The AG suggested that West Virginia had the highest government per capita in the the nation. We in fact do, and yet we're losing population, but we manage to add the state government year in and year out. State government should be a partner to the businesses and the citizens of the state that they're in. Instead, in West Virginia, our state government tends to be an impediment. We tend to get in the way. We have a culture of no that is driven so deep in our state government that it's going to be a real task to change it. And truly, that's what drives me. That's what drives me as a businessman to want to hold my hand up and say, give me an opportunity to be your next governor. I think it takes a leader to put the right leaders in place over those government agencies. If we're ever going to drive that culture out, if we're ever going to, in fact, make our government one that is in it to partner with its citizens, to serve its citizens, and to partner with those job-creating businesses. We took control. The Republican Party took control in 2014. That was one thing. Keeping control is going to be another. Keeping control through our very first cycle in 2016. And I think it's critical that we do so. We brought, at our first time at the helm, we brought bipartisan solutions, and those are critically important. But don't forget the critical nature, the importance of who is in leadership. Whoever got the most votes, whoever is in the majority, elects leadership. I'll remind you back to the beginning session in 2012, the very first bill that was introduced out of the House was a key term, was a trial attorney's dream, a sue and settle bill. That's what the last leadership thought was best. This leadership thought it was a little bit better to repeal our cap and trade and then go to work on our legal reforms, regulatory reforms, and all those things that hold our state back time and time again. It is critical that we maintain that leadership. It's critical that we grow our majority. We ran a pretty skinny margin in the Senate side. Tim had a few more people in the House. He had 64 out of 100. We had 18. We had a one vote majority in the Senate, and we navigated that maze pretty adeptly. We had a heck of a team, but I'll tell you what, I sure would like to see a few more votes on the Senate side, just to make sure that we have the votes to carry forward those things that we feel are critical. I think it's critical that we take the governor's office for reasons I've already shared with you. I am proud, more than I can tell you, proud beyond belief that I will share the top of that ticket, the state ticket, with our Attorney General, Patrick Morrisey. J.B. McCuskey announced yesterday that he's going to run for auditor. There are others in the wings that are going to follow, and I won't preempt their announcements, but stay tuned as we work to fill the whole slate on the constitutional offices, and Attorney General Morrisey and I will work tirelessly to help get those people across the finish line and to help keep our legislature the way it needs to be. West Virginia, folks, is worth fighting for. West Virginia is worth fighting